Well, that was an interesting ride because going into the season, I'd been looking at Evil Dick's Twitter feed for this season, and like with every season since Big Brother 10, he was complaining about it, but he seemed to have really ranked up his level of hatred towards this season, so I was like, something's different here. I want to see what's going on. Well, at the start of the season, I was noticing that the people's behavior wasn't wowing me, but I was like, what is really bad about this? I mean, like, I get the idea that you can argue a lot more of these people are just playing a casual game and not doing necessarily what they should do, especially like with last season, which was all about strategy, but I'm like, there's nothing overtly bad about this, and even when I finished it, I'm like, okay, I'm not wowed by it, but I'm okay with this. I don't have too much to complain about. But then I read the controversy for the season, and then like with season 16, my thoughts on this season have kind of gone down a little bit, especially one revolution I learned about season 16 of Big Brother, but I'll get to that towards the end of the video because they tie in together here, right? So, when the season started, I found myself not totally minding the opening shake-up and the reintroduction of veterans interacting with newbies, because I've always liked the idea of having returning players mingle in with new people and seeing how they produce results, because Survivor's done this a lot, and Big Brother doesn't have a history that much of returning players, so it just adds a new element to the game. Especially since these returnees were more average players, because Season 13, because they needed duos, they had to, get more noticeable people, and in Season 14, it was noticeable people in production doing a very bad attempt in hindsight to make it seem like they were going to play the game, so yeah, it was nice to see more average people, although I was kind of disappointed in how they were more ruthless the second time around, although that's probably what happened at All-Stars, and that might be the main reason why I don't entirely like it, even though they started doing other things in the season that maybe get against them more, yeah. Yeah, but I'm not trying to say that they downgraded themselves. I was just slightly disappointed that they were doing the more ruthless game, because I had gotten to know these returnees' personalities from the previous seasons, and yeah, because, like, let's be frank, because he actually wasn't in the season too long in the grand scheme of things, I got to know this guy's personality a good way, but his performance here confirmed he's not that great at Big Brother, given how he told too much to his allies, and he did kind of boast about being well in the competitions, because he won a couple nice amounts of competitions, or performed well in them, although it was nice to see him get to play the game that he wanted to, although because of the click twist, or team twist, because there's no real term for it, he was safe half the time, although I think he was actually only nominated once, and even then, it wasn't exactly the first time, if memory serves right. Oh yeah, and how did I feel about the team twist here? It was a nice idea, and I do like how it was kind of, what's the term for it? Reduced in impact level, shall we say, compared to Season 11, because other than Frank, I don't think this twist really impacted too much, and then also the idea of having the team that performed worst actually having the power in the end, not a bad twist of fate idea. Right. And then not having Battle of the Block, definitely a good idea, although, in terms of bringing house guests back, that got a little bit overkill as the season went on, because bringing the house guests back before the jury and the BB battle, that's not entirely a bad idea, because it's like Redemption Island on Survivor kind of idea. It's a different style of it, so I enjoyed that, although it is kind of unfair to the first person evicted, but I don't know why I'm complaining about that here versus Survivor, so yeah, that was fine in my eyes, but then the round-trip ticket thingy. Again, not an entirely bad idea because the people had to work for it to first get in there, and then, even then, it was still a random chance of getting the ticket. But here's the thing. They only allowed 5 opportunities for a person to go back in the game when there's 12 tickets. You should have at least done half. Why would you only do 5? That didn't make any sense to me. And then there was, having the chance for a jury member to go back, but at that point it really got to be overkill because, okay, as you know from my previous Big Brother US videos, I'm getting pretty tired of them bringing house guests back every season and then doing it multiple times in a season, even though the first time was not anything bad, and then the second bit with the round trip tickets was not overkill, but just... It's just like, I don't get it. I really don't. And I'm getting seriously surprised that no one on air is mentioning, oh yeah, it's about time for someone to come back. Like, they've done it so many times, you should be able to predict this stuff. Yeah. So, it wasn't bad at first, but towards the end it got to me, and it's not just because Victor was, you know, pretty good at the competitions, okay? Because had he won either one of them on his own, we wouldn't be complaining about it being a comp beast, so it's kind of unfair to him, alright? He just got lucky, simple as that. Yeah. Because anything could have gone wrong during a good amount of those competitions. Paulie could have lasted a couple of minutes. What's-his-face, Jose could have made any one of those shots. Paul could have missed, Victor could have missed any one of those shots. Tiffany could have guessed that the letters go at the top, or gotten better with the harness thing. Or Bronte could have just gotten lucky with the guesswork. Come on. He was lucky, and I do applaud that guy, but I was never completely in favor of him, especially since actually him leaving the first time made Paul a little bit more reasonable, because Paul was actually the only person I really had an issue with at the start, because like with, what's-her-face, Christine from Survivor South Pacific, him completely going, oh yeah, I guess the attorneys, I'm not bothering with you. Now, this does contradict something a little bit that I said in my Big Brother 17 review, where I'm like, don't complain about somebody being on another reality show and then coming on to this one. Only do it if they've been on the same show twice. But you should never just blatantly go against somebody like that, because that's going to put you in hot water generally, and it's a resource you can use, you know, to help you out. And then, gradually, as these things go on, the idea of these people being returnees generally lessens. Okay? Because even if you count Survivor, I have yet to see anyone booted because they were a returnee. They were always booted because either they didn't get along with people or they were a threat. Simple as that. So yeah, at first I wasn't really liking him, but towards the end, where he began to show a little bit more of his strategic thinking, and then start talking to everybody, even though just about everybody was talking to everybody here, although it wasn't that great in some instances, because, like, the 8-Pack Alliance, even though there were a couple of affiliates, I think that's the proper term, yeah, that's an example of how you can't have too many people in one alliance, although, unlike the Bomb Squad, which later became the Detonators, it wasn't really just one person screwing it up in both instances, because Frank did stuff, Davon did some stuff, and then a couple of people did stuff to shift it against Davon, and yeah, it was a whole bunch of factors that changed things there. But yeah, so I probably should get into the main behavior of other people here. I was liking what I was seeing, to be honest. Now, as I think I mentioned earlier, it did seem to be that there were people playing a little bit more of a casual game, but people were talking. I was interested in seeing decision-making change here. People were going for reasons that I wasn't entirely expecting. Everybody seemed to matter. I don't believe that we had a true Meg reappearance. You could argue that for like a Michelle and who the heck was Frank close with again? You know, the girl who broke her ankle, you know? Sorry that I don't remember her name. I think it starts with a B, but, even though they started off bad, they actually began to matter towards the end, you know? And, yeah, it was just very interesting to see people try and execute these things, and I was having fun with it, to be honest. It wasn't wowing me, but it wasn't disappointing me in any way, really. Yeah. And then even when we got to the end, there were a couple of curveballs and reshuffling bits that I didn't expect. Although I was a tiny bit disappointed with Paul like taking everything right at the end, because it seemed to be a little bit too easy, even though it was everybody's fault, you know, for having 3 duos at the end, because there would have always been somebody in the spot that Paul was in, yeah. And that's not to say that I was entirely rooting against him. I just wish that maybe something would have turned out a little bit differently. Possibly not have Victor come back in the house, because then he would have been making deals a little bit differently, or Corey not been as big of a as he was in some instances, because that was the weird thing about Corey. He's one of the people that I don't really like his edit, because you could argue that he was like the dim-witted but handsome guy that a Cody was in BB16, and then like with Cody, it seemed like he had a chance, but then kind of degraded again, but it seemed to like go for Corey here, was for Cody it was dumb, has potential, dumb again. So I thought that was kind of odd, to be honest. Yeah. Okay, and I know that there's other little tidbits I could say about everyone's behavior, but I think you guys get the idea, because this season only just recently ended, and if you have more questions, you can put them down below. So let's jump into what I felt like at the final 3. Now, I want to go a little bit more detail on this, because my thoughts on this final 3 were actually completely inaccurate from what was actually going on in the show, which I don't think happens too often, because like I was thinking that for the final 3 that Nicole had no chance of winning the game due to pissing off people on the jury and then being a little wishy-washy in terms of talking to people correctly, seemed to be the message. Then I felt that James, even though he wasn't doing as good of a way as he was socially, at least it appeared to me, had a better chance, because even though he had pissed some jury members off, they could figure him out in the hard to beat, and he still had the loyalty of a couple of them. And then Paul, even though he was the loudmouth guy like Evil Dick was, his gameplay was obvious, and he didn't seem to be pissing people off the same way Evil Dick pissed them off, because while Paul did go after a couple of people personally, and then he did call one person a cunt, I forget exactly who it was, Michelle, possibly? There didn't seem to be really anything other than that, and it's natural to have blow-ups, you know, so that's what I was thinking. And then, so Paul winning and him evicting James, I felt like he had it, but then as I was hearing the jury discussions between these two, I'm like, okay, I guess Nicole hasn't pissed people off as much, even though I think Paul's still going to win this. But if Nicole were to somehow carry this out, I wouldn't be that bothered by it, because she's worked at it. And then Derek from Season 16 actually stated that they thought that she was actually a pretty good strategic player, and they singled her out and booted her pretty quickly one of the 2 times she was booed hit because of that reasoning. But I was like, yeah, Paul's probably going to win this. And then we get to the last key, and then it turns out Davon voted for Nicole, and well, here's how I felt after I saw that.
I didn't see that coming. Holy crap, Devon! Well, blindsided me there.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever done that. I was that surprised. Like, rarely ever does a reality show blindside me that big. Like, the last time I was blindsided like that was when Vince was voted out in Worlds Apart episode 2. So, yeah, that was a real shocker, even though I'm not annoyed by it at all, honestly, because Nicole worked at it. We got a lot of camera time from her, an excellent example of a dark horse candidate, even though, it could be possibly I just wasn't focusing on her as much, given how the detonators were taking everything that season, and Nicole was pretty much their last target. Yeah, because Victoria was the ultimate take to the end person, right. Yeah, so she was the last target for the detonators before they turned on themselves, right, so... Yeah, I kind of deserved to win, although, just, yeah, what a shocker. And I'm not going to argue that the wrong person won here, because as Julie Chen stated, you could have made a case for either one of them, so... Right. Then, after I finished listening to Rob's sister Nino's bits, where I learned that, the cast members don't appear to have too many issues with each other, and even Paul, even though he's disappointed, goes, hey, it happened, time to move on, which I like that about him. I decided to check out the controversy bits for this season, because virtually every season of Big Brother has it. And then I learned about all the derogatory remarks that various house guests were making, and CBS was ignoring them. Yeah, now to be fair, okay, they did show Paulie's remarks, okay, but his remarks we've actually seen before. And for my personal view, even though this doesn't make it okay, it's actually extremely easy to be sexist, okay? So, right, and if you read into that statement a certain way, you can argue I'm being sexist with that remark, because being a white, fairly well-income level male, I've never really had to deal with this kind of stuff, so, right. Yeah. So, for Paulie, whatever the bits they didn't show, they showed enough, okay? But it looked like Paul did a little bit more than what they showed on the show, which was kind of annoying, even though it does really just put him at the same level Evil Dick is. So I can't complain against it too much, because if I can get over some of the stuff that Evil Dick did... even though I think Paul was a better socializer with the people in his house on a personal level than Evil Dick was, I got to treat him the same way. But then I learned that CBS was deliberately covering up Corey being homophobic in various remarks, along with I think one other person who was being homophobic, and that's really annoyed me, because you're making Corey look to be a fairly nice guy when he's actually issuing various homophobic remarks. Yeah, that annoyed me, especially since when I was reading one of the sources that proved Corey being homophobic, which I'm going to link down below, it also showed Caleb from Big Brother 16 being homophobic, even though he formed a pretty good friendship with Frankie, yeah. So, yeah, you can... Seriously, Caleb? Jeez, man, like, after seeing that, jeez. Yeah, as bad as Jeff, really. Crony, next thing I know, John Rocker from San Juan del Sur is gonna turn homophobic again, yeah. I'm being sarcastic there, but if that was to happen, it just wouldn't surprise me at this point, right? So just... Yeah, CBS, really? You're making the cast look better and covering things up again? Didn't you guys learn from Big Brother 15? Even though you didn't have nearly as many problems as you did there, just... Yeah, that annoys me. It does. Because I actually didn't really have any problem with this season, and even then the idea of having too many people come back wasn't that big a deal, because it was the same person who got evicted a couple bits down the line, so it didn't really bother me as much as it might have otherwise would, and it didn't alter the flow of the game at all, unlike Big Brother Canada, hint hint. So, other than CBS screwing up with not being honest with these derogatory remarks, I got no problems with this season, actually. I don't think Big Brother has returned to being in a rut. I think it's actually at a fine level, but... oh, man. CBS, yeah, covering up these kinds of things just depresses me, big time. Right. Makes me now want Caleb to not reappear on Survivor, yeah, because he's not coming back to Big Brother, but Survivor may be. And actually, James admitted in his interview with Rob Janina that he actually wants to crack at Survivor. That would be kind of interesting, but I don't know if it's going to happen at this point, because even though CBS is allowing more and more people to cross reality shows, just... I don't know. I just don't see it, to be honest, but if it happens, whatever. And apparently, actually, because I was totally wrong about this Final Three, James actually had no chance of winning, yeah. Kind of a surprise there, but he stated that he was actually doing more in the social game than he was in 17. I guess it was just his edits that got to me there, yeah. Right, so as to where I rank this season, I'll put in the comments where I rank it, because I'm in the same situation that I was with season 11, in that the good stuff I feel is good, and the bad stuff isn't good. So I gotta figure out what I want to do with it. And then as for Big Brother Over the Top, I don't think I'm gonna watch that, because one, it's only available on you know, the app devices, and money's pretty tight with me, and two, it's a very different game that I don't think is going to impact the regular Big Brother game at all, and also, it seems like there's a good possibility this will be the only one of these they do, so, yeah. See ya.